Alright, so welcome to the Fireside Chat with Honorable Ministers Neena Jaggi and Minister Nolan Quinn, hosted by Impact Media and Events Corporation or IMEC as we call it. I am your host Vipul Jani. Before we begin the session, let me say a few words about IMEC. I can assure you it will be very brief, only about 45 minutes. Some of you have attended several IMEC events in the last 7 years and know IMEC very well, including Mr. Jaggi, I guess. I am going to go ahead and bore you again anyway. So IMEC is a media events company based in GTA for the last 25 years. We host high-end corporate and political events, including business leader roundtables, welcome and farewell receptions for high commissioners and visiting delegations, an annual charity golf tournament, an annual education conference with colleges, universities, and other stakeholders in the education sector, an annual global gala event, and more. CEOs for banks, tech and pharma companies, high net worth individuals worth 300-500 million plus, premiers, cabinet ministers from 6 Canadian provinces and 8 countries, MPs, MPPs, mayors, US ambassador, Indian high commissioners and others have participated at various IMEC events over the years. I am also happy to say IMEC has raised over $200,000 for various Ontario-based charities, primarily in the healthcare and education sectors. This year we also added a Global Impact Award, and former Prime Minister Stephen Harper was the recipient at this year's gala in May. He was there for the full 5 hours and also participated in a fireside chat on stage with me for about 15 minutes. Looking at the severe food affordability crisis and the use of food banks right now at record levels, we have recently started a new food bank as well called Food Bank for All. We have already started donating food to other food banks, shelter homes, and are currently in the process of adding more distribution points, including at educational institutions as well, and for the homeless people. Please feel free to visit our website at Food Bank for All or IMEC-Govt. And if anyone would like to support, participate, guide us, help us in any way, you have the forms in front of you inside the magazine, and we'll reach out to you next week. Last but not the least, IMEC has done about 50 plus solid events in the last 4 years, and based upon popular and consistent demand, we have now opened up this platform for memberships, like any other business chamber. I am happy to say that in just 4 months' time, we have got 45 members now that have joined IMEC. The goal is to have 300 members by December 2026 to make IMEC the largest privately run business organization. It is again a first. I don't think there is any such example before, but I have done a lot of stuff first. So I am happy to say that even this new model is also picking up very, very well. So if you have not already joined IMEC yet, I encourage you to join today. The subscription forms are also in the same magazine in front of you. That's it for the introduction. So you can all wake up again. As for today's event, it's all about Ontario, a province we call home. Times are tough right now for most of us. There is great uncertainty cutting across the sectors. People are not sure if they have a job tomorrow, if their business can survive the trade and tariff chaos, wars raging across continents, and just the overall cost of living spiraling out of control. I thought this will be the right time to talk about what our provincial government is up to, where do we stand, what kind of support or assistance we can expect from them, and what are the areas of growth that we can still look up to. I am thankful for Ministers Tegri and Minister Nolan for accepting my invite and joining us today. I must say there have been some challenges to put this together in terms of the dates or the formats or whatever, since I proposed this event first. I was also actually away for a bit, just came back yesterday from the US, so I feel like being a guest at my own event. But here we are. So after my remarks in terms of the format, we will go straight to the fireside chat with both the ministers, and the chat will then be followed by post-event networking. So please welcome Honorable Neena Tegri, Associate Minister for Small Business, and Minister Nolan Quinn, Minister for Colleges, Universities, Research Excellence and Security, Government of Ontario. So I will be moderating the chat and asking them the questions. There are no audience questions. You can ask me before or after. Usually we have more than one mic for this kind of chats. Today unfortunately the codec mics are not available. So we have one mic and we can use it, for all 60 of us. There's always something new at every event, so this is the first as well. Anyway, so I will start with you, Mr. Quinn. There are a few questions and I will ask both of them in turn. So, colleges and universities are seriously struggling right now because of a large drop in international students and a very high rate of rejection. Over 80% I have heard for international students from several countries, including India. IMEC being primarily a Canada-India platform, right? So whatever happens on the bilateral corridor is a matter of great concern for us. Several programs have been cancelled, resulting in thousands and thousands of layoffs, great uncertainty. Can you provide us with where we stand on the ground, real numbers or whatever data you have as of today?
Well, thank you. I actually had the questions ahead of time. That's not the question that I was told I was going to be asked. So obviously international students have caused some challenges with the federal government's new policy around international students, and you are correct. The fallout has been significant, the 70-80% range, and we're constantly advocating for the colleges and universities and the postgraduate work permit eligibility for our international students. And ultimately, sometimes we're not necessarily heard on the federal side of things, but we'll continue advocating for labor market needs, labor market demands when it comes to international students. There's been a few that were quietly added after the fact. It's been a process and a half, I think is the best way to put it. But last year, ECE, early childhood education, was not included on the postgraduate work permit eligibility list. And I think we all know the $10 a day daycare is part of the mandate of the federal government. So they quietly added that one. Another one would be, nursing wasn't offered at the college level, but you were allowed to, an international student, go to nursing at the university level. It's the exact same course at the college and university level. So again, we're going to continue advocating for our international students and our labor market needs. Another one that has been unfortunately missed is for the Niagara region. Tourism and culinary is not included, and there's a lot of concern in the Niagara region. So the regional nuances of the needs of the economy aren't necessarily being quantified by the federal government, so we're going to continue advocating for that. Understanding it's put a lot of pressure on our colleges and universities and the budgets, because the fallout was very, very, very quick. And ultimately right now we're just trying to understand with IRCC the processing time, because I think a lot of schools, and I see a couple different schools here right now, ultimately that they're not sure when the student's going to show up. You know, it could be a 4-month process, it could be a 6-month process. They're hoping that they're going to come in for the September enrollment, and now they're hoping for January enrollment. So we're going to continue advocating for the sector with IRCC, but we need to have a willing partner on the other side to have those conversations as well.
So another question that is directly connected to this is, although you addressed part of it, but how is Government of Ontario helping these education institutions, like in what tangible way?
Absolutely. So, last year, whenever the international student regulation changes happened, we invested, it was prior to my time as a minister, $1.3 billion into our publicly assisted colleges, universities, and indigenous institutes. That basically was over 3 different years to be able to help them out with the budget lines in that regard. And this year, we invested another $1 billion. So it's basically over $2 billion over the last 18 months we've invested into the system. This year was more for new seats. So the biggest investment was $750 million into STEM seats. Currently, we're graduating about 70,000 STEM students a year, world-class STEM students, which drive a lot of small businesses right across Ontario. And with this investment of $750 million, we're going to be graduating approximately another 20,000 STEM students on top of the 70,000 we're already graduating. With that as well, we've added seats into teaching. We recognize there's a huge teaching shortage across the province, and shout out to the teachers, my wife being one of them. Understanding that if we don't have a pipeline of teachers, we're going to have challenges with the education system prior to getting into post-secondary. So we've invested into teaching positions, another 2,600 teaching positions per year added into the graduates we're already producing, as well as nursing positions. We've added some of those because understanding every community has pressure on healthcare, and people choose where they're going to move based on the healthcare opportunities that are in front of them. So nursing is an extremely important one that we've added another approximately 2,500 seats to the nursing graduates every year. And then I cannot forget about skilled trades and construction related seats. I'm a small business owner myself, and prior to getting into politics, my plumber at my restaurant could never find any other help. So ultimately, it's holding back a lot of the economy, not having enough skilled trades, not just for the maintenance of plumbing and electrical, but also for the growth the province wants to see. So, with that, it's 7,500 new seats in construction-related skilled trades, and then on top of that, there's about 100 planning seats as well, because we have heard from municipalities that they don't have enough planners in their system, and that's really slowing down the growth for businesses and communities. So that's another addition that we've added, is some planning seats as well. So we're hyper-focused on very strategic investments into labor market needs to ensure that we're filling that gap that's present currently.
Good to hear that. So the next question is for you, Mr. Negi. Many small business owners are seriously struggling to survive just to keep their doors open in light of the US tariffs and a slowing Canadian economy. As Minister of Small Business, what do you see and hear on the ground? I am sure you talk to a lot of those business owners.
Well, thank you. Well, first, I just want to give a big thanks to you and to Minister Nolan Quinn for being here and joining all of you today. And thanks to all of you. I know many of you have traveled quite far to be here, and it really is a privilege for us to be able to be here and meet with each and every one of you. But as the Minister of Small Business this entire summer, I was traveling around the province, meeting various chambers of commerce, business improvement associations, just everyday businesses on the ground, to hear from them what are their challenges, what are they facing, what are they hearing. And I think the main problem is the uncertainty, what they're hearing from the United States. How do they have the ability to grow? So, quite frankly, talking to the businesses, they're doing okay. However, they want to grow, they want to hire more people, but that uncertainty, that unknown, that supply chain will continue, that customer in the United States will still purchase from them, that is making them have a wait-and-see approach. So that doesn't help our economy grow, and that to me is what is very challenging right now, what I'm hearing from our small businesses. But I can tell you, our small business enterprise centers, we have 47 of them across our province, and they help people start and grow their businesses. And they are oversubscribed. We have so many great, wonderful people with great ideas, creative ideas, that want to have a product that they want to sell to consumers, and they're willing to put themselves out there, risk everything they own to start that small business. And I think with Minister Quinn, myself, and Premier Ford and our government, we're there supporting them every step of the way to help them get off the ground and for those businesses already established to help them grow. In addition to our small business enterprise centers, we have 17 regional innovation centers, and they're for those businesses who are looking to go global. They can reach out to them, they can support them, and right now, because they work very closely with the United States, so we're also looking very closely at other jurisdictions, or even better, other provinces. So we hear from many businesses how it's easier to do business with other countries than it is with other provinces. So Premier Ford has really taken the lead in this area, worked with all of the other provinces. We have memorandums of understanding, I think, with 10 right now, so that we can have the movement of labor, many of the industries that Minister Quinn was just talking about. So if somebody is currently a plumber in another province, any direct single trades, they can come to Ontario and be a plumber in Ontario right away. They don't have to go through, hoops to try and get their accreditation, which can take many, many months in many cases. So we're out there, we're ready to talk, to listen. It is wonderful to see so many familiar faces, but a lot of new faces today. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation on how we can help support many small businesses and many industries, including our colleges and universities around the province. Thank you.
Sure. So the next question is something on that line. Directly related to small business health is the number and the quality of jobs available. We just saw 60,000 plus jobs lost very recently. Most youngsters that I personally know are struggling very badly to find a job, any job. Doesn't matter what their area of study was, they just want to have a job to pay their own bills. What role can the government play to create more job opportunities for young and not so young?
So I think what we're doing, we're having an all-of-government approach. Actually, in the previous month, in September, there was additional job growth in Ontario. There's been less part-time jobs, but a significant increase in full-time jobs, which is actually a very good news story. Having said that, it is our young people that are the ones that are having the hardest time. I have many people I know very personally that feel that just walking into contract after contract after contract is 3 months, it's 6 months if they're lucky, no benefits. So it's a different role, I think, out there. I think there needs to be a thought process and a change out there. There's also the issue where we want to make sure that we have more STEM grads. I'm actually going to pass it back to Minister Quinn to finish this off, but having more people go into STEM, having more people think about skilled trades, having more, being in the schools, this is something we're changing within the curriculum within our high schools, is having plumbers, carpenters, electricians actually go into schools and talk to students about what it would be like to be a skilled trades person. And one of the biggest increases that we are seeing is women in skilled trades. They have great jobs, they have careers for life, they are very well paid. And most of them tend to be entrepreneurs as well. So it's a very rewarding career. So, I'm guilty as everybody else. I have 3 children, one is a lawyer, a doctor, and an IT. But, if one of them wanted to go into the skilled trades, absolutely, I would have loved to have seen that. And I think we need to encourage more of our younger people to look outside the normal group of areas, because that's, in a skilled trade, as an electrician, you've got a job for life. And I think that's somewhere we may be able to encourage more people. And I see a lot of people from our colleges here, and they've done a phenomenal job of opening more programs and bringing more people in and going into the schools and talking to our young people about the programs and the curriculum and what they can do to learn more in the school trades. But there's definitely a lot of challenges out there. I would encourage businesses, if you're ready to grow, please do hire that next person. Start looking at our new generation, our new graduates, even people right out of high school. There's many, many jobs that they can do right out of high school that they can be qualified for. Not everybody needs a university degree or a diploma. They can do great things right out of high school. So let's encourage everyone to understand that they all have somewhere where they can be a great person in our society, contributing to our economic development.
Just add a little bit to that. So, as Nina mentioned, Mr. Tangri, is trying to capture the attention of our youth early, and not my ministry, it's Ministry of Labour, Immigration, Training, and Skills Development, but we have level affairs that travel across the province, and I believe they're starting again this year. And ultimately, my daughter was able to go to one, my oldest daughter, last year in Cornwall, and she came home wanting to be a millwright. I still don't know what a millwright does, but in grade 7, she was exposed to many different skilled trades. The fair is really opening up a lot of opportunity for our youth, as well as the Jill of All Trades event that I was able to go to last year. As Minister Cambry mentioned, a lot of women are going into skilled trades now more than ever before, and ultimately I think it was a 30% increase year over year for women joining skilled trades. But as Minister Cambry mentioned, it's a career for life. It really is an opportunity, and changing that perspective on it. I wasn't the greatest student when I graduated grade 13 25 years ago, but I was directed towards university or college. We didn't get into the shortage of skilled trades overnight. And I'm not discounting university or college, obviously I'm the minister of university or colleges, but ultimately there was no conversation around, do you want to go into the skilled trades? Or in my community, which is a bit more rural, agriculture as well. So we've gotten into these shortages over 20 years. It didn't just happen overnight with our skilled trade shortages. So, it's a bit of a plug on my ministry, but we just introduced in June, I think it was, My Career Journey, which allows our guidance counselors, our parents, our teachers to have a one-stop shop, to be able to understand where the opportunities are, where the courses are offered in Ontario, as well as what the rate of pay will be, the salary intentions as well. So, understanding guidance counselors are more focused on the teaching side of it. They're not necessarily HR professionals, as we were speaking earlier. This gives them the opportunity to really expand the horizon of what's available for the students. Quite often we hear of capacity issues in our colleges and universities. It may be in one region of the province, but they're not aware that another region actually doesn't have the capacity issues. So the My Career Journey is a real good opportunity for youth, for mid-career people changing jobs if they've lost their job, to be able to upskill into another career, to be able to understand, again, where the prospects are, where the opportunities are in the post-secondary education system, but as well as, what the salary range will be afterwards as well. So, another portion of, youth not being able to land that job. I've been doing roundtables all summer. We've done over a dozen of different sectors of the economy. And the one thing we've heard loud and clear at every single roundtable is there's a gap on soft skills of our youth coming out of our post-secondary institutions. And, I push back a little bit on that one. Ultimately, the employers that are saying there's a soft skill gap don't take on co-op placements. They don't take on work integrated learning. They don't take on internships. The employers that do take on internships, co-ops, and work integrated learning, they don't see that soft skills gap that is present with students that haven't gone through the internship. So my recommendation for all small business owners in the room is, help the institutions take on work placements. The other real interesting component of it, part of the tour this summer that we've done all across the province, Ross Video, which is a significant company, they go to my writing, but out of Ottawa on the research and development side, they take on about 30 internships a year, and they're competing against the Googles and the Amazons of the world when it comes to the IT. They don't have a recruitment problem. So anyone that's struggling with retaining and recruiting, if you have a culture of bringing on internships, co-op placements, and work integrated learning, it all solves all the problems that they're dealing with. So that's my recommendation to anyone in the room. I might have got ahead of myself on the next question. But ultimately, those work integrated learnings, and we have KPIs, we have metrics for our post-secondary institutions that they have those work placements. So anytime any business or the economy can help with that, municipalities help. I know the Ontario Public Service takes on about 500 internships a year, and ultimately it's filling that gap in soft skills and it's helping our youth get employed quicker once they're out of school because they have those real hands-on experience in the career and they're ready to jump into it. And there's not as much of a soft skill gap whenever they take on the co-op or work internship. So anyone in this room that has a bit of flexibility and an opportunity for students to be able to come in, and I'm quoting Ross video, David Ross, he's second generation. He did work internship when he was there. His dad pushed him out of the company to go work for others, and he made it very clear that sometimes internships can just be photocopying papers, doing some of the monotonous labor. His internships are not that. They're working on real projects. They're working on files that are moving the company forward. So to me, that's another important piece of internships and co-ops is making sure it's some valuable work that the students are getting some real skill sets that they're going to be able to take away, and not just doing the photocopying that's needed for the business in that regard. But I think I might have got ahead of myself on that one, but I just felt like with the youth conversations work.
The more information you can share, I'm sure people would love to know. Anyway, so the next question is again for you. Over the years, the problem is not as acute, I think, as compared to maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago when I came to Canada, it was quite rampant. Over the years, we have seen many bogus private colleges who did not have proper infrastructure and were just used to secure admissions, Canadian visas, and later on work permits, etc. Just sort of opening the door to come to Canada. Is the government acting on stopping this misuse and abuse of international students who were probably willingly or unwillingly getting used?
So I say it's really keeping me on my toes because these weren't the questions I was given prior this morning. But yes, unfortunately there will always be some bad actors in the system that are going to exploit our international students, and we are focused. We do, when it comes to career colleges, they are under my umbrella, but there is an ombudsman or a commissioner that does focus on those. But yes, we will work with IRCC. It's a bit of an interesting question because we don't give student visas. It's the federal government. And I think it was the first month I was in the job, there was been a finger pointing from Minister Miller at the time saying, we trusted BC and Ontario too much. Respectfully, I think Canadians trusted you with the immigration system, and they've stumbled over it a little bit in that regard. So we will always focus on labor market needs and ensure we're meeting those needs. Yes, there will be unfortunately some bad actors that are going to exploit the system, but they are very, very, very small amount when it comes to the overall picture of the international student or post-secondary system. The majority of our post-secondary institutions are very much above board and doing things properly and making sure that the student success is part of what they're offering our international students, just like our domestic students, because both international students and domestic students have a really important role to play when we're meeting our labor market needs moving forward in Thursday as well.
Okay, so the next one is again for Mr. Nolan. Every challenge brings up new opportunities, which may not be visible right away. In the present chaos in the education sector today, what kind of long-term opportunities do you see, and how do we make the most of them?
Yeah, I say this often, so anyone that's had conversations with me, challenges or opportunities that haven't necessarily presented themselves yet, and maybe that's because I ran a restaurant during the pandemic, that I had to focus on the positive. It seemed like everything was working against me at the time, but ultimately, we can find our way through these challenges we're living through right now. There's opportunities that really haven't presented themselves. When it comes to the sector as a whole, with unfortunate job layoffs and job losses, the sector will step up and help reskill and retrain people into new career paths. So there is a lot of opportunity ahead, but focusing on where the largest labor market needs are, as Minister Cambry mentioned, STEM is significant. STEM drives a lot of what we are doing in the province, whether it's research or development, ultimately STEM students are driving the economy. And I think you mentioned it 25 years ago, we didn't necessarily have a productivity problem in Ontario or Canada for that matter. We've really lagged behind the G7 when it comes to productivity, GDP, and ultimately I truly believe, maybe I'm a little bit biased because I'm the Minister of Research, but research is the opportunity to support productivity in Canada. I think there's a huge opportunity if we go all in on the research side that it's going to drive our economy, but it's also going to drive the productivity that Canada and Ontario needs for that matter. So I think there are a lot of opportunities, especially with the labor market needs. As I mentioned earlier, with skilled trades, nursing, teaching, STEM. Ultimately, there's a lot of opportunities in our post-secondary sector. It's just to make sure that our post-secondary sector is aligned to the communities they serve. And I think that's the one opportunity that has come out of the challenges we're currently living. Our post-secondary sector has always been really good at aligning with the communities they serve, but they're even more hyper-focused on ensuring, especially in rural Ontario, like my community of Cornwall, the focus on the local labor market needs that are needed. They always have been, but there's a heightened focus on ensuring that the local communities that we serve at our post-secondary institutions are meeting those labor market needs of the local community. So I do believe there's an opportunity to refocus on where the labor market is driving our institutions to ensure that we're meeting those labor market gaps. So I think everyone in this room knows we have significant gaps in the economy right now. Yes, there is youth unemployment, but there are a lot of shortages in whether it's healthcare, skilled trades, STEM as well, that opportunities should present themselves. It's just to find the correct path to get there.
Sure. So thank you for that, Minister Tahiri. There is a perception that governments at all levels are providing far too much money to private businesses in the form of subsidies and what else. Correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, Ontario is probably the most indebted sub-sovereign jurisdiction in the world. Can we really afford to continue to do this? I mean, I understand some support may be necessary, required to attract investment, to save the businesses, to have them expand, all legit reasons, and the government has a definite role to play there to support. Is the amount, is the volume that I'm talking about. And of all the money being provided, do we measure an ROI just like any other business would do for our tax dollars? Stellantis being the most recent glaring example of that.
Thank you. I know that has been at the top of mind of some people. But all funding that the provincial government, the incentives that they provide to many of these companies, they come with very heavy KPIs. So they must create an X number of jobs. They must do many things, and most of the money that is the numbers that you'll hear is actually incentives and tax incentives. We're not building their capital buildings. We're not doing giving them billions of dollars and saying, here you go. Hopefully you'll hire a few people. No, they're very much tied to the jobs that they create, and it's over many years. So the Stellantis and the news yesterday extremely disappointing. The Premier has had conversations with the CEO, and they are claiming that they will continue the Brampton plant, maybe with a different vehicle instead of the Jeep Compass. So I think it's the unknown that has been very frustrating for many of us. And the issue, anytime that we do have those conversations with these companies, and many companies that we have provided funding for, think of the life sciences companies like Roche. A lot of these companies coming in with billions and billions of dollars of investment. And we may be giving them a couple of $1 million to help entice them to choose us over the United States or over somewhere else in Europe. So this is it's a small amount that we're giving them to bring that investment. And the return on investment and the ROI that you were talking about is the growth in our economy. the growth of jobs, the growth of the great people. And I can tell you, why do people look to Canada to come? We're a very small population in comparison to the rest of the world. We're about 2% of the pharmaceutical industry's patient population that they need to serve. So they could technically think, well, why should we invest in Canada? It's only 2% of our sales. But they know that in Canada and Ontario especially, they can get the talent that they need. So that is our biggest driver when we're looking to companies to come invest in Ontario. Companies that are already in Ontario, they stay here, they want to grow here because they know that the people coming out of many of your colleges and universities is exactly what they need to continue to grow. When I was first elected, one of the challenges that I heard from companies over and over again is that they spend too much time going after each other's companies to steal their talent. And so I worked with them and I said, how can we make that different? So it's graduating more people in those industries, whether it's in biomanufacturing, and in STEM, and today artificial intelligence is what we're talking about. Many of the jobs of tomorrow are going to be in artificial intelligence, and I know many of your colleges and universities are way ahead of that and already got a lot of courses ready for our students to learn from. So we must make sure that we continue to have that talent available for those companies to come here to grow and to build our economy. It's really, really important. And I know when we're looking at that return on investment, it's that growth. And it's worked. I mean, our economy has grown, I think, more than threefold since we were elected in 2018. The Premier gets it. He's a businessman. He understands what it is and how to run a business, and he's done a phenomenal job working with many companies globally and in Ontario, and having companies across the country also look to come to Ontario. We're not saying that it's us versus BC or us versus, well, it's often us versus Quebec. And I talk about language laws, and I'm saying, we have people that speak 100 languages in Mississauga. Why would this be the perfect place to come? And it works. When we do get that investment, we have a lot of companies coming here, large and small, all sizes. And I think as a government, we need to understand, I know the news that we hear is all about those big companies, but we do support many small companies and help them come here too.
Sure. So as I mentioned, yes, there is a legit case for the government to support businesses to come here, to stay here, to grow. So that's perfectly fine. What is more concerning is, when the government does give them millions or billions in some cases, like EV subsidies or whatnot, tax breaks, incentives, they still end up leaving or cutting jobs or whatever, that was not expected of them. So do we ask for our money back? Or just to say, yeah, whatever, just say that clear, close our eyes and move on. As a taxpayer, we don't hear those things if we are getting anything back. Now, Melody Jolie yesterday was talking about taking Stellantis to court. I don't know how many years that case can drag on. So what is the real tangible way on the ground where we as taxpayers can see what is happening, if they are getting anything back, if the companies are being penalized for not honoring their commitment, something like that.
Yeah, I'm just going to repeat a little bit about what we said before. When the contracts were signed with those companies for the investments that they are going to bring to Ontario, I'm not going to speak for the federal government, but they are very much tied to the outcomes. So it's not giving them money up front. It's tax incentives, it's tied to the job growth, and it's usually over many years. It's very rarely that we're going to throw them money up front. The most we'll do is we'll help build the infrastructure like stormwater drainage to make sure that those places are are industry ready and job ready, which we would be doing whether it's a municipality or the provincial government anyway. So that's where we help them and support them more. Lesser so is just, we're not just giving them money and saying, here you go, let's hope you do something with it. No, the contracts are very strong, they're tied to outcomes, and if they do not deliver, they do not get that money. It's pretty clear. I just wanted to say, I know Mr. Quinn has to leave at the latest at 10:30, and I really would like it if you had the ability to go around and meet with everybody before you leave. So rather than, it's up to all of you obviously, if you would like us to continue to answer general questions, or if you'd like us, Mr. Quinn and I, to come around and have a conversation with each of you before we leave.
So I just have two questions remaining for you and one for Mr. Tangri. So maybe you can give us brief answers if you want to interact with the audience after. You are also Minister for Research. So the role and investment in R&D has never been more important in the tech-driven, AI-driven world that we are all entering. We were big on research funding and technological advancements, Canada as a country I'm talking about. Where are we as a province in terms of our R&D investments, both as government and as private sector investments? There is a growing perception that Canada is probably not focusing as aggressively or as passionately on R&D as in the past, and as a result is falling behind.
Thank you. Trying to tell a politician to keep his comments brief, that's a bit of a challenge. When it comes to research, I would bluntly disagree. Since 2018, we've invested $2 billion into research and development in Ontario, and that's usually matched by the federal government. So we are hyper-focused on research. I think this year, and I should know this, I was just going through my estimates review. It's about $300 million that we're investing both into research infrastructure, but also the operations of research as well. So with CFI and the federal government, we are investing heavily into research. As I mentioned earlier, I truly believe our productivity woes across Canada can be solved by investments into research. IPON, I'd be remiss not to mention that. That's something that the government stood up, and we've had, I'm just looking at the numbers here, since 2022, we've invested $85 million into IPON, so Intellectual Property Ontario, and that really, truly is helping our students, but our institutions be able to drive commercialization of intellectual property. IPON has had over 2,100 innovation IP protection since 2022, and there's been a significant amount of clients that have gone through. Over 1,000 clients have gone through. Quite often we realize when it comes to research, we're great at the research component, but not so great at the commercialization component. So quite often our research is sitting on a shelf and we're not bringing it to market quick enough, and then other jurisdictions are beating us with the research in that component. So IPON really does play a significant role for research and development to ensure that we can get it from the lab to commercialization and scale up as well.
You made it. It was a short answer. Okay, so just one more last question for you. The support staff at the colleges are back to work from today. We had that good news yesterday. However, over the last several months, it looked like everybody was itching to go on strike, whether it's Canada Post, whether it's CN whether it's airline companies and staff. It's open for all season, So at least in terms of the education sector, can something be done to avoid these kind of disruptions, ongoing strikes, teaching staff, support staff, whatnot?
Well, that's an interesting question. For the college, if you're not aware in the room, I'm not actually privy to the negotiations that go on between OPSU. It's actually the College Employer Council that does the negotiations and the back and forth between OPSU and that. But you did mention there has been, Canada Post and a few others. High inflation right now. Understandably, the affordability crisis we're in, and I think that's where we see a bit more movement on the union front. But I'm very, very pleased to know that both sides did put students first, and they're back on the job today.
Okay, that was even shorter. So that's the last quick question for Mr. Tangri, and then we are done with the chat. Any new initiatives that the Ministry of Small Business is planning to undertake in light of the current economic turmoil and trade tensions with the US? Any new initiative?
So our government is, we've looked at various industries that have been hardest hit, obviously the steel sector, aluminum, auto sector, and we put together a fund that's available because we want to make sure that people can continue to stay on the job. So whether it's mining is another area, we supply many critical minerals to the United States. So if they choose at this point, because of the tariff wars that are going back and forth, today it's 25%, tomorrow it's 50%, last week it was 0%. It's really, really frustrating for many of our companies because they just don't know. We'd rather keep those people at work, so we've been supporting companies to continue building up their supply, and we're also looking at other jurisdictions that we're selling our products to. And as you know, Mr. Fideli, I don't know if any of you follow Mr. Fideli online, social media, I think he was in Stockholm yesterday. He spent a lot of time in Europe this past couple of weeks in the Far East, and talking to many of the jurisdictions about bilateral trade. So, and bringing more investments to here in Canada. So there's a lot our government is doing. We're ahead of this. We understand what's happening in the United States. But let's be honest. The United States is going to be our largest trading partner for a very, very long time. But they shouldn't be our only trading partner. We really need to look elsewhere. But the biggest, I still believe that the biggest opportunity that we have we follow through on is just trade with Canada, which has been a huge, huge issue for decades. I heard about it long before I was elected, and we followed through on that, and albeit Donald Trump has made us move faster in that direction. So there's many funds that we have available to support businesses. We support the Digitalization Competence Centre through the Ontario Centre of Innovation to the tune of $7.5 million to help people get more of a digital adoption within their businesses. And of that $2.5 million is a brand new grant which allows retail stores, the storefronts, those retail companies, to receive up to $5,000. They'll put $1 in themselves and we'll help them with $1. To help them with cybersecurity, with threats, with cameras, with artificial intelligence, to help them grow. So we want to make sure we're supporting all levels of our industries, especially our small businesses. It's always been thought that small businesses have been an afterthought, but this government really understands that small business is all about growing our economy. 500,000 small businesses in Ontario, employing over 2.5 million people. I think that's incredible. And many of you here are small businesses, so it is great to see all of you do that. I want to thank you, Paul, thanks for putting this together. Thanks, Minister Quinn. Minister Quinn actually lives very, very far from here, so long drive for him to get here. So I do appreciate you joining us here today. And to all of you that have traveled near and far to be here, I do look forward to getting around and having a chat with all of you. Thanks again.
So that's it with my questions for now. Honorable Ministers are welcome to add anything else you like. Do you want to add anything? Okay. So that's it then. The floor is now open for post-event networking, and hope to see you all at the 6th IMEC Education Conference coming up on December 3rd at Courtyard by Marriott in Brampton. So that's it, and I hope to see you around for some more time. So if you can have